Yeah, so Insulet Corporation is what I'm pitching today, and their ticker is POD, P-O-D-D. So I would like to start with viewer discretion is advised. So why is this? So Insulet Corporation is considered a healthcare company, but the question is it really a healthcare company or a technology company? This is a question that I'm in the healthcare sector. This is a question that a lot of us are talking about. So Insulet Corporation today, their price they closed at today was $227.65. Price target is $260. I just put that in there as like the highest target that they had. But I think this is just a long-term buy. The potential increase from that price target is about 16%. The PE ratio is 280.54, and the market cap is 14.95 billion. So why is Insulet Corporation a buy in our area? Differentiated products and innovation strategy, large and under-penetrated global market opportunity, and sustained above-market execution. So backtrack a little bit, and what they're trying to reach is diabetes. So diabetes has no known cure. This is caused by the body's inability to produce insulin, which prevents the body from regulating glucose levels. This levels can fluctuate between hyperglycemia and hypoglycemia, which is high and low. Some side effects include confusion, vomiting, dehydration, blindness, kidney disease, stroke, nervous system disease, or death. And there's two types of diabetes. Type 1 is the inability to produce insulin, and type 2 diabetes is more commonly inability to either properly utilize insulin or properly produce enough insulin. So if you see in this little picture that I found from the National Institute of Diabetes, number 1, type 1 is mostly chronic in children, which makes a lot of sense because the inability to produce insulin is basically they can't have it from birth. And 95% of diabetes come from type 2, and it's more common because of the American diet. You rely on a lot of fast food, and a lot of people don't like to exercise and stuff like that. 30 million Americans who live with diabetes today. There's 7 million people in the U.S. who are undiagnosed with diabetes, and there are 80 million number of U.S. adults who have prediabetes, which is basically they have the preconditions, I would say.
That's almost 1 in 3 people in the U.S.
Yeah, basically. So what they have is the Omnipod. They have the PDM and the Dash, which they just released in April 2019. This delivers insulin through the wearable pod of 200 units of insulin, which lasts about 72 hours. It's 3 easy steps. They fill it up with insulin. It primes itself and performs safety checks. They place the pod anywhere the injection would occur. It's not an injection. It's just a small incision. I'll explain that later. They use the PDM, the personal diabetes manager, I'm going to say that a lot, to control the insulin delivery. The patient can control the amount of insulin wanted depending on what they're doing, what exercise they're doing, if they're eating certain foods that they're eating. The patient gets notified when there's less than 50 units of insulin left in the pot, and that continuously happens with 35 units, 10 units left. And this is also interesting. Using cloud, doctors can view patients' Dash PDM and make adjustments if necessary if they're not doing what they should be doing. And this only occurs using the Dash PDM. The Omnipod PDM can't be viewed by doctors.
So let me just clarify. So it's monitoring it, and it could notify your doctor if something isn't working correctly. Is that right?
That is correct, and they can make adjustments if they see that something's going too wrong.
Okay. Automatically?
Yes.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Because it's using cloud and stuff like that. A little bit more about it. In July 2018, they announced positive results that said Omnipod, the PDM, performed well with type 1 diabetes, granted FDA breakthrough device. And the Omnipod Dash is the first FDA-cleared insulin pump supported by the smartphone connectivity. And these products are sold to wholesalers, private healthcare organizations, healthcare facilities, which is about 65% of their sales, and direct to consumer, which is about 35% of the sales. So the costs. So Omnipod Dash system is the only full-featured insulin management system available through the pharmacy channel, also available through the company and other distributors. Dash is covered within most private organization companies. About 67-ish have private health insurance. I actually called them today, early this morning, to get a lot more information about what they do and how the cost works. It's covered by Medicare Part D, which is about 18% of the population, and also Medicaid, 10% of the population, but it depends by state. I have no idea what else. The patients just pay a monthly copay that's insurance-based, and they also have a program which I got a lot of clarification on when I called them. There's a financial assistance program for people who can't afford the Omnipod system because they want you to get the treatment that you need based on income and other factors that you can't afford. But they only receive a 10 to 30% discount going through the Insulet Corporation. They didn't know how many people use that program. So for the PDM with no insurance, it costs $199 for the device. It's just a one-time fee. And a 10-pack of pods is $299 a month, and that's always recurring. A pack of pods, it lasts about 3 days, so it's basically a month. The Dash, which is no insurance, it's a PDM, comes with the order, it's no cost. But the 10-pack of pods, it's $477, which is recurring, which might seem like a lot, but however, there's a lot of people who have insurance. And also, I talked to someone who didn't have like the discrepancy of how many people use the Dash to the PDM. But what she did tell me, in her state of North Carolina, a lot of people use the Dash system because they want the doctor to know like if something is going wrong.
So you could have better health outcomes as a result of this.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Thanks to newer technology. So what's their competitive advantage? So first, insulin pump therapy has shown to provide numerous advantages related to multiple dose injection therapy. The insulin pump therapy eliminates individual insulin injections. It delivers insulin more accurate and precisely than injections, and improves HbA1c, a common measure of blood glucose levels. The flexibility with meals you can program it with, exercising daily schedules, and reduce severe low blood glucose levels because you're able to program it how much you want during a certain part of the day and at night also. So both, yeah. Any questions about that? And then, so both Omnipods have unique and distinct advantages against other pods on the market. There's only two parts. There's only the pod that you put onto your body, where the incision would be if you were to have an injection. And then there's a device, the PDM. There's no tubing, no disconnection. It's automated cannula insertion. The forced pod reduces changes of lipophonia and absorption problems, so like taking the pod off and stuff like that every 3 days. The Omnipod display app allows for the PDM users on smartphone. It's just a nice app. The Omnipod View app allows 12 care partners view their loved ones' Omnipod Dash system. I talked to this salesperson about it. It's usually for with parents who worry about kids. So that's who a lot of the times, and a lot of grandparents as well. And the way that these two parts are connected, I didn't mention this, is via Bluetooth, and it has to be basically social distance 6 feet apart. Like that's the maximum that it has. It can be a way. Future partnerships, Abbott and Dexcom. So Abbott and Insulet signed an agreement to integrate Abbott diabetes care, continuous glucose monitor in the future. And Dexcom signed an agreement with a future Omnipod with continuous glucose monitoring system. I'll talk about Dexcom more in a minute.
Okay, so let's stop for just a second.
Yes.
A couple of things I think just to note. Notice how much depth Sean got into about the product. He really went in depth. But he called the company. What do you think that might tell you about the company if they picked up the phone and talked to you? What might that tell you? They're
really interested and want new investors into market because I told them that I'm a student and I was a part of an educational club and we wanted to learn more about their products and stuff like that.
But you found they talked to you.
Yeah, and they were absolutely willing, and I was surprised at first.
Yeah, you did that's exactly what an analyst does. Is talks to the company. Thank you.
And I forgot to mention the combined market cap between these two companies is $223 billion.
So they got big partners.
Yes. So there's global opportunity that they have. So there's about a total of 10 million people global to market that they serve today. Around 4 million have type 1 diabetes and about 6 million have type 2 diabetes. So the areas in blue on the map that is listed, that's the areas that they serve or going to serve. I'll explain that in a minute. And they're supposed to be entering 5 new markets in 2020. Hopefully the next slide will clarify that. So on Monday, the Wall Street Journal reported and they announced that the Omnipod Dash system will be available in 10 new countries. Sweden, Finland, Norway, Denmark today. France, Belgium, Germany, Austria, Switzerland, and Israel in the coming weeks. And this is a quote that I found in the article from a doctor. Some of the key features of the Omnipod Dash system are very useful to my patients. For instance, the fact that it is waterproof and controlled by a smartphone, touchscreen controller via Bluetooth means it will minimize the number of components they will have to carry, making it easier to manage their diabetes. So I thought it was very interesting to hear from someone not in the US say that. So Dexcom Insulin future products. So they're trying to partner and have the Insulet Corporation have the pod, and the Dexcom is going to come with the PDM basically. So it's going to be an insulin pump, houses the algorithm itself, and communicates directly with the Dexcom continuous monitor, allows the delivery system to perform without being tethered to a smartphone or other device. There was a study that was done in like around June. The Omnipod system helped improve adult participants and the blood sugar, I spelled that wrong, range from 65 to 73% over a 4 to 9 week period. Participants are able to set their own glucose targets based on meals and activities, including overnight and in the future. The study was paused earlier this year after they caught a software glitch that could have caused the system to use incorrect blood glucose values in rare instances. No other events have been reported, and the study recently resumed and pushed back a commercial launch to the first half of 2021 instead of this year. So here's their balance sheet. I want you guys to take a look at that before I say one comment that I have about it. It's a pretty good balance sheet. As you notice, in 2019, they have a lot of convertible debt. But that convertible debt is it converts to equity at some point. So if you take the debt to assets, it's 0.843 their ratio. So 0.843 debt, technically equity assets, because that debt will convert to equity at some point in the future. Here's their income statement for the past 3 years. Their revenue has increased substantially from 2018 to 2019. And as you see, they started to make a profit in 2018 and much more substantially in 2019. Here's a common size income statement. It's a lot easier to see what expenses are being used more or less. Here's our cash flow statement. What else do we have here? Here's their income statement from the 3 months ended June 30th and 6 months ended June 30th. As you see, they did very well in 2020 in the second quarter. Their EPS was projected to be at 0.02. That's what analysts thought, but it was at 0.22. And at 6 months ended, their earnings per share was at 19 cents.
This company is a healthcare company that's growing but makes profit at the same time.
Yes, they started to make a profit in 2018, yes.
And they spend almost $70 million a year in R&D to keep the future going.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's also due to their, as you see later in some of the ratios, why they're able to do that. Here's their common size income statement. Zach, would you want to go over the ratios?
Sure. Thank you, Sean. All right. So starting with some liquidity ratios, but don't pay attention to the long-term debt to equity yet. That's not liquidity. Looking at the quick and current ratios, they're doing substantially well in their current ratio. In their quick ratio, because they have a lot of inventory, they're not doing, well, they are doing very well compared to the industry averages, because the industry averages are in parentheses. And especially for the industry, they are doing quite well, outperforming some of their competitors. And then for their long-term debt to equity, they are excelling, because that is not a number you see every day for long-term debt to equity.
And then a lot of long-term debt, sorry, I cut you off there, is convertible debt. So that will be converted to equity very soon.
Okay. And then moving on to ratios for activity and profitability ratios. In terms of return on assets, they're not doing so hot per the industry standards, but they are doing well for themselves because they did just turn a profit in 2018. They are staying on top of their return on equity, and that should increase in the future because of that convertible debt. And as Sean said, the estimate was a 1 cent off, but their EPS is 20 cents, 19 cents, whereas the industry average is around $4.63. Obviously, this is a growth company. We're looking for growth, so that should increase, especially with this new technology. And then moving on to the profitability and moving on to the inventory turnover. Theirs is not that great as opposed to the industry average, but again, this company needs a little bit more time to prove themselves and to raise that ratio. In terms of their asset turnover, they're doing pretty well per industry standards. And for their profit margin, they're not too far behind from where the rest of the industries are. And then I'll turn it back over to Sean.
Thank you very much. So from the income statement, the gross profit margin ratio was 65.0, which is much better than the industry average of 12.01. So their decrease in cost of revenue was due to the startup costs and inefficiencies related to the U.S. manufacturing operations, expedited shipping costs, and the manufacturing incentives from their manufacturer in China due to the pandemic. They only have one manufacturer, which is called Flex in China, and they have a new plant coming up and built already in Massachusetts. So here's our SWOT analysis. So some of their strengths is their market share. I think there's a major opportunity that we have here. It's not that diversified, which is a good thing. So they're focused on making sure that these two products are going to market, and they're starting to have income positive. So they're trying to make some money now. Their weaknesses is not diversified. So if these two products don't go so well, they're not going to make any money. And their third-party suppliers and manufacturing limitations have hurt them for this basically fiscal year. So hopefully they're able to overcome these, and also with their new production plant in Massachusetts, that should help them. So with the opportunities, they have the new emerging markets, as I mentioned before. Their production plants should help them in Massachusetts, and also their partnership in China with expanding globally. And their partnerships in Dexcom and Abbott should help them in the future. And the threats are basically just macro environment. We have no idea what's going to happen with the new government regulations, the economic conditions with COVID, and the international business risks that we currently have. I would like to give the mic to Christian to go over Porter's by forces that he did.
Thanks, Sean. Okay, so competition in the industry is high. It is a highly competitive market subject to rapid change. Tandem Diabetes Care, Reapoplex, Neurometrics, and Calito are their main competitors. The potential of new entrants in the industry is low, as there are already lots of companies that are working on this who sell to a large population of this specific market. The power of suppliers is high because Insulet is not a major customer for their suppliers, as they are dependent on third parties to manufacture and assemble the pods. They also have a subsidiary of Flex, which is a company who also performs assembly and supplies a significant portion of the pods. So they are vulnerable in price fluctuations and problems. Power of customers is medium because customers can switch to other companies with similar products if they offer a lower price. And the threat of substitute products is medium because Medtronic and Tandem have similar diabetes products that people can also switch to. So back to you, Sean.
Thank you, Christian. So here are some of the stock charts that we have here, with orange being Pod Insulet Corporation, and then we have 4 other companies in the same field. As you can see, Pod has done very well over the past year, even though the market has dipped. So here are some of the per share earnings and actual estimates from Insulet Corporation. As you see, they have underperformed earnings for 2019 third quarter, fourth quarter, and the first quarter of 2020. But however, they killed basically earnings for Q2, and for earnings on October 29th, analysts are expecting an earnings of 8 cents a share. And as you see in the bottom right corner, earnings projections have steadily increased over the next 3 years. With 2020, their projection is 36 cents, and 2021, $1.23, and 2022, a little bit over $2 per share. So this is what analysts have Insulet Corporation right now. They have 7 as a buy rating, 2 overweight, and 11 hold. The median stock target price for Insulet Corporation is $249. So, and the low is $210, the high is $260, the average is about $241. And the earnings strength is very positive because they see earnings have increased from 26 cents to an estimated 38 cents over the past 5 quarters, and they have shown a strong acceleration in quarterly growth rates when adjusted for the volatility of earnings. My last slide here, shout out Dan Bourne for teaching me this over GroupMe. So right now we have Bollinger Bands if we want a nice entry point. As you see here, it's a little bit too expensive, so we want it to be right about like the midpoint. So if we do want an entry point, it closed at about 227. The healthcare group would see a nice entry point around the 220, 222 mark, since we see support around the 218, 222 level, and resistance around the 230 level right now. And now I'm happy to answer any questions.
Before you get technical questions, let's go around and get a quick reaction to the presentation itself from a process perspective. Dave, why don't we start with you, David?
Sure. Very well done. I liked how in-depth they went with the product. You really got a feel for what they did. Financials, I wish we could go a little slower through that, but otherwise, very well done.
Jake?
Yeah, just to kind of piggyback off of what he just said, I think they did a great job detailing the product. Especially, I think they only had like a week to really go over this, and they did a good job of really getting all the material together. It was a little bit hard to look through the balance sheet and income statement, maybe go a little bit slower, but I mean, a lot of us probably were looking at it anyway, so I wouldn't really stress on that too much.
Austin, what did you think? Did you know anything about this company before it started?
The only other time I heard about this company, I think when we mentioned it last class, but I actually have a cousin who is a diabetic who has also been looking into getting something like this. So I've heard, a little bit about him, but to comment on the presentation, again, just very in-depth. I think you guys did a great job going into detail. And the fact that you even called up the company today to find out information was pretty impressive. So again, job well done.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that one. That was great.
Yeah. So I think anybody else wanted to just chime in? We got a few thoughts there.
I think it was really good that you look so much into the product, because healthcare, a lot of it is understanding what the product is. So understanding that is like the main thing.
Yeah. Really good example. Questions about, now move on to any questions about the firm itself. What do you think? Should we buy it? What are we looking at?
I think, as I said before, maybe we should wait for a little pullback, I would say, because there seems to be support around the 220, 222 level. And that's
Will, what do you think about that? He's talking to Sharp.
You said Will, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I really like the company, and I would definitely want to be long the company, but I was a little worried about the valuation.
Yeah.
So you might say when it drops back down, a buy would be around 223, 225?
I would say 220 to 222 right now, ish.
I want to, I apologize for missing the pitch itself, but
we recorded it for your benefit.
Oh, fantastic. But I will say that one thing I do know about is getting priced out of companies and missing opportunities. It's happened a number of times to me personally. It's happened a number of times to this fund.
More than we'd like to know.
More than we'd like. So I would actually advise strongly against waiting. David Klein, the former CFO and current CFO of Constellation, current CEO of Canopy Growth Company, GENESEO alumni, he was telling me one time at the event, the Constellation Brands event, about how when hedge funds make decisions to buy companies, they don't care about entry prices. Either they want in or they want out when it comes to long run positions. Long run for us could be a couple weeks. But that being said, if I had, for example, I bought Tesla over the summer as a short-term play. If I had waited for a pullback, I would have missed another 50% gain. So I would say, if you like the company, if the fundamentals are good, I wouldn't wait on it. I would buy it because especially right now, markets are very unpredictable.
I would say maybe a small position now. If it goes lower, we buy more.
It's a good idea.
I mean, I'd take that over the other option, but I guess I'm also of the opinion, like, why split your bets again? Like, I get that it's diversifying risk, but if you obviously see enough value in the company to put some of your money into it, why not put the rest of your money into it? I know these are those are
good questions, Connor. Those are very good questions.
I understand the theory. I understand about diversifying risk, and I've heard about. I get it. I've heard it, but from a realistic perspective, I never truly bought the argument. Like I don't. Yeah.
Does anybody have? Let's go around it from look. That's a valid point. Let's come back. Does anybody have any concern about the company itself and what it does? Okay, so we know the company, want to be in the space. So the question is, other thoughts then relative to what Connor said as to wait versus go. Sean wants to buy a little now, a little later. Other thoughts around that?
I don't see anything wrong with like waiting, maybe trying to get a better price for it. But then we could set it. I've seen like you can set it so it's like we have a buy at like 220, but then also if it jumps by $5, then we also buy. So it's just like we pick because like a long resistance.
Wait, if it jumps by $5, how is that insurance?
Resistance.
But how is it jumping $5 higher now an insurance policy for us if we could buy it now?
No, I'm just saying like we'll lose the $5 or we'll gain the 10. And we can't lose money by not buying.
You can miss out on the opportunity. You could have a lesser gain than you would be otherwise.
But fair valuation, we have it at 220. There's no reason to buy it ahead of that.
Fair value is 160.
Fair valuations aren't really a thing in this economy right now.
I don't know. I feel like there's going to be a pullback.
Hey, look, it's your company. I just don't want to hear about how we missed out on gains and opportunities and how good of a play that would have been. Things that AJ will be saying to me for the rest of the semester.
Gary, what do you think? You've been burnt on missing these opportunities, including one fairly frequently. What do you think?
I mean, I know about missing opportunities and I know about jumping in too early. Like Ligand, obviously, that hurting me a little bit in the back of my mind. So I'd say, it's always going to go up and down. So why not just wait a little bit?
Joey?
You're talking to me?
Yeah, I'm talking to you.
I would say I would agree with Jerry, and he's like right now. I wouldn't. It's hard to say because I looked at Insulet today, and for as bad as the market was in some sectors, it kind of held up. So I believe that it does have. If it did really well on a bad day, I mean, just imagine on like a decent day in the stock market. So I could see it above like 230s within like the next week or so.
Joe, what do you think? We got three Joes. Either Joe.
I just had a quick question about, I know you said it's coming to a couple European countries and it's coming to Israel. Is there any chance that it could come to any Asian markets or any other emerging markets like that? Like, is that in the pipeline at all for the company?
I believe so, but they haven't mentioned it yet. They do have a manufacturing plant in China, so I would expect them to have the intention of going to Asia.
Which would mean they have a bigger market.
Yeah. With the price, I guess I'd just be in favor of buying it at the 227 rather than risking waiting.
No,
so I could definitely see benefit of waiting it out.
I kind of like what Joey Taylor said about how it held up in a pretty spotty day today in the market. Looks like it has some pretty solid strength. So I don't see any harm in waiting just a little bit, but I also do understand where Connor's coming from. It looks like if we're going to be long on it, I wouldn't want to look back and regret and sacrifice any gain. So my like final opinion outlook on it would be to just wait a couple days maybe, and then try and get in on it as soon as we think that we're good to go.
What's going to be different in a couple days? Just as a rhetorical question.
No. I mean, that's a very good question. I don't know.
The Nasdaq's 3% lower today than it was yesterday. Nike is 10% higher today than it was yesterday.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, like that's anything, especially in this market. Hey, I as the president, I'm here to guide and to advise. I am not I'm not a, I don't have some, veto or whatever to the final decision. I just really don't want to see a bunch of sad faces. That's all. I want you all to be very happy. I care about you.
Tanner, what do you think?
I think it's a good company, and if you like the fundamentals of the company, then I'm with Connor. You might as well go all in with it, but I do understand the viewpoints of waiting.
Kaya.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Connor. I think over the summer, I think we had a lot of instances of, we wanted to wait to see if it would drop to this entry point. And it never really worked out. I mean, this is a long-term play from what I'm hearing. I really like the company. So if we lose a couple of dollars, if it happens to go down, then
good point.
It's going to go back up anyway. This is a long-term thing. I really like this company. But, I'm with the rest of the group. If everyone wants to just wait it out, then I'm fine with that. But I could see us buying it now, and I'd be on board with that.
Okay.
That's like exactly what I think. Yeah.
Okay. Ryan?
I personally say just buy now. I think we like the fundamentals. We did the same thing with iRhythm this summer, missed out on a bunch of gains.
Okay.
So I personally think if we like it, we should just buy it now.
Kamal?
I personally think we should. I mean, I don't think it's a bad idea to get it now, but I also do think we should wait just in case.
Okay. Tyler?
I'm a big fan of the company. I mean, I'd be probably more on Connor's side of going for it now.
Joe, Chris, Jillian, Zach, Christian, Christina, Nate?
I'd say go for it. If it's long term, if it's truly long term, then it really shouldn't matter.
Okay.
Yeah, I like the idea of getting it now because if it's a long-term play, I don't want to worry about like the few dollars.
Personally, I'm a high risk, high reward person, so I would like to get in on it right now because as I believe it was Kaya who said, even if we lose a couple dollars in the next week or two, this is a long-term play. So if we could gain within the next couple of months and then sell out, then that would be fine.
I think like no one really had anything negative to say about the company, and we all kind of like it. So I think I kind of agree with Connor and that we should buy it now.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think it's like really promising that they are partnering with Dexcom, who's been in the market for a while, and that other company for diabetes devices. So I think it's looking up and we should just buy it now so we don't lose out in the future.
Nate?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think we got to trust the research, and it is a long-term play. So we can suffer a small loss and wait and hold and hope it gains in the long term. So I think we got to trust the research, trust the company. We all like it. So I think we should buy it now.
Okay.
All right, let's put it to a vote.
Yeah.
Put a poll.
Can you do a poll, Connor?
I think you have to do the polls.
Ooh, something smells good. Here we go. So by what size position?
Half.
What does half mean?
Buy half now and add at 240 or at 195.
Oh no. Oh, okay, but half of.
Yeah, and you want to buy, I mean, you want to put 1%, let's say 1% is 3,600, 2% is 7,200, and 3% is about 10,000.
How much cash are we sitting on right now? A lot.
Jerry, go ahead.
We have to think about how much we have in healthcare already.
That's a fair point. I'd be fine with 1%.
32 or an even 5,000.
Go even 5,000.
Yeah.
Even 5.
Yes. No. Save. Launch poll.
So if I vote no, that means we're waiting?
No, that means when you're voting on this topic, so you would vote no to buy, and then we see what the vote is, and then come back and see what we do after that. So we still need 5 of you to vote. Oh, I didn't vote, but I don't have a vote, so it's out of 22. 21. Did you vote, Jerry? Who didn't vote? One of you guys didn't vote.
The poll is not appearing
Yeah,
on my
the
screen.
poll isn't coming up on my screen.
Really?
Well, we know how they voted, so just add 2.
Okay, so we're at, yeah. So all of the attendees that are attending, so we will purchase that $5,000 worth, which is about, what, 25 shares? Let's see.